Do you have money set aside for reserves? Do you have money set aside so that when shit hits the fan, you're able to pay for it? You're able to cover it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 3 of the Facts of Life podcast, where the word life means something a little different depending on the episode that we're doing. Today, I would like to talk about, life. What does life stand for in this episode? It's lending, it's investing, it's about your finances and just your entrepreneurship and diversifying your funds and your money and running your business. So again, welcome to episode number 3, the Facts of Life podcast, brought to you by me, John Dunn. Some of the hot topics right now that we're seeing all over the news is things that are pertaining to the jobs report and stocks, the fluctuation up and down, hourly wages, unemployment. All these things affect the market. It affects, interest rates. A lot of people are always asking, hey, are rates going down? What are they doing? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. And I don't know if they're going up and down. I know that in the lending industry, we are all preparing for battle, for rates dropping. Even with that said, it's not bad now, and we'll dive into that. However, right now, the biggest topic is the jobs reports. What does that mean? And there's a lot of different breakouts as far as jobs go. The biggest one this week was all about hourly wages. Hey, hourly wages are up. Hey, great news. But if you look at what employers are reporting, right? So let's do an example. If you're making $30 an hour and you got a $1 raise, good for you. However, what the facts are is that the number of hours being worked is less than it was before. So if you're making $31 an hour, that's an extra dollar that you got as far as a raise goes, and you're typically working 40 hours, that's $40 extra a week that you just got a raise on. However, if you're going from 40 hours to now 38 hours per week and you're losing 2 of those hours, what's the point? You're actually making less money than you did before. Now, I think it does matter. For example, if you have a side hustle, or you have other means to make money or other ways to make money, and that extra 2 hours opens you up so that you can make more money and have one stable position while you do something else, great. But that is not the case for your normal or average American. So that's been a really hot topic. Jobs. For months now, we've been going through, what do the job reports really mean? That's kind of funky. I'm not going to sit here and try to break it all down, but there's different interpretation of, how those numbers look. A lot of job reports are based on how many job positions are open and are for hire, right? That's actually the majority of it. So not really all about how many people are actually getting hired for a job. It's just how many open job positions there are. So if I today, for my business, Equinox Home Financing, decide to open up and post 20 different positions that were open, that would count as a positive job reports number. I don't get that. I don't get how that's relevant. To me, if job reports are doing good, I guess it's really ties back down to unemployment numbers. If you want real numbers, if there's less unemployment, which there is right now, month after month, it's under 4% as a nation of unemployment. So that means that those numbers are looking healthy. But what I was saying is, who cares about how many positions are open if you never fill them all, right? It should be all based on who's getting hired for how much and how that's working. And that's all affecting mortgage rates and everything else. So with that said, if there's so much fluctuation in the market that's out of your control, I can tell you one thing that you would have better control over, and it's what I'm in the business to. I sell homes. I'm a California real estate broker. I'm a lender. We help a lot of business people who don't have the means of getting qualified for a traditional mortgage, getting qualified so that they can diversify their, investments. If you're somebody who invests a majority of your money into stocks, you got to look at diversifying, right? Here's a fact that, of the ultra wealthiest Americans, and what does ultra wealthy mean? That means you're worth $30 million or above, ultra wealthy. Literally a third of your portfolio is in actual real estate. residential and commercial real estate. But there's a big reason behind that. And the sooner you learn about it and choose where you want to put your hard-earned money, so that it starts working for you. Let's go back to like 20 years ago when I first started in this industry, and I would work with these old school investors, and they would always say, like, hey, the American dream with real estate, right? It's not just about buying a home. It's about buying a property, saving up money, putting a down payment, buying a property, and then having other people rent from you so they pay your mortgage off for you, right? So really simple. Come up with the money just for the down payment. Make sure it's, affordable. Have other people come in, and as the years go by, they chip away at your mortgage debt so that you owe less on it. And guess what? The return here is that even though real estate goes up and down, right? Up and down, nothing you or I could do about it. It's going to keep on going up at the end. There's been no other, facts or data out there that shows anything different. It goes down, it goes up. Again, people always ask me, John, is it a good time to buy? I don't know. But what I do know that if you don't buy, it's not a good idea. If you are a high income producer, number one, you are missing out on the tax benefits that it yields to be a property owner, right? Whether it's your primary or homestead or not, you have, expedited depreciation that you can write off on rental properties and things like that. Huge if you're looking for write-offs. Number two is you have others, paying down your debt for you that you obtained when you first bought it. And number three, the appreciation game. Let's say low end, right? Homes appreciate at 5%. And on the high end, it's a good market. It's going like at 20. 10, 12, 15% average appreciation on something that is tangible, which is a piece of real estate, not stock certificates, right? This is tangible. And, at that rate, how could you go wrong? And the name of the game is this, right? Like you put money in, you buy a home, you have renters come in, they pay down your debt for you, your home starts appreciating. As it continues to appreciate, you tap into the equity, take some more money out, and go do it again and again and again. And you multiply this same concept. And at some point, maybe you start with condos, and then you go a little bit bigger. You go single family homes, and then single family homes, and then multifamily, and then apartments, and then commercial, and then it keeps on growing. I have investors that I've been working with who I personally help finance, 15, 20 properties. And now they've moved on to commercial because at some point it's, you outgrow that portfolio and you get into something bigger, but it takes risk, take some guts. As long as there's glory, if you take that risk, that educated risk, and you have controlled growth, and most importantly, as long as you treat it like a business, I think is the most important thing here. A lot of people will buy rental properties and they are not prepared. They don't have reserves set aside for vacancies or for maintenance or for, unexpected things that come up that will cost you money. And so back to the question, John, is it the right time to buy? And my question more is pertaining to this. Number one, if you were to buy a property, can you afford it? Is it within your means, right? Is it going to change your lifestyle? Are you going to start, eating cup of noodles or whatnot once you buy a property? If it's life-changing like that, then no, you should not buy a property. You're just not prepared. But if the answer is no, it's within your means. Okay, my second question is, what do you have in the bank? Do you have money set aside for reserves? Do you have money set aside so that when shit hits the fan, you're able to pay for it? You're able to cover. I think that's the most important part of running any business. And buying rental properties, it's just no different. You have real estate. Your tenants are your customers, and sometimes customers pay on time or upfront, and sometimes they need to pay later or whatever it may be, right? Like there's maintenance involved. And so if you have the means to afford and you have the means to run your rental properties like a business, then you're good. I own several short-term rentals, Airbnbs. My best one right here, I would say, is the one in Coachella Valley. It's in the city of Indio. And for those of you that aren't in California, that's like the Palm Springs area, not Palm Springs, they didn't ban short-term rentals, but is very limited and grandfathered right now because of noise and partying and all that stuff. However, in India, which I've helped several clients and friends buy there as well, it's very seasonal. And a lot of places that you go where short-term rent, think about this, it's a vacation home, right? It's a vacation area. And so most vacation homes or areas are very seasonal. So if you are somebody that's looking to diversify your portfolio into real estate, and it's in short-term rentals in particular, think about this. How it kind of works in India is January through May, super busy. We're in season, right? It starts off good. And then you got Coachella and Stagecoach, and you got like all these different concerts that go on, and it gets just really packed. Literally, you can make enough money from January through May to cover your whole next year's of mortgage and expenses if it does well. You know, if Stagecoach and Coachella has a good lineup and it's like explosive, yeah, you can make enough. However, June, July, August, September, these 4 months are like dead. So you may have no income for 4 months. And then back, October through December for the last 3 months of the year, it's pretty decent again. So if we look at that, 8 months does well, 4 months does not. By the way, the 4 months that, doesn't do well because it's hot, it's 100 degrees, 120 is like what it goes up to. So a lot of people just don't go on vacation in the desert, unless there's a good reason to. So by the way, that's when our family goes and takes advantages of our properties. It's usually when it's off season because we don't want to interfere with when it is making money. But those are the benefits of having a short-term rental is that, you get to use it as an income generation device, and you get to use it for yourself when you want to. And it's a good time to check in and see what's going on with the property and, updating or whatnot. But my point was that, if I didn't run this like a business and I simply spent the money that I collected starting in January through May, I'd die. I would be hurting through the summer months, those 4 months. But if you ran it like a business, right? And you said, okay, January through, May, whatever I make, I just leave it in the bank. I don't even need to touch it. I just leave it and it covers. I promise you will make money by the end of the year. It will be a very profitable deal. But again, you have to treat it like a business. There's maintenance. People break stuff. You got to paint. You got to, pool equipment's going to go down because there's high volume, high usage. But if you understand that and you're in the business and you get how that can function and you run it like a business, it'll work. Going back to rental properties in general, long-term or not, or short-term, you need to be able to run it like a business. One of the things that always comes up too is, I have a lot of people that call me and they either only want to buy in cash or they want to put these like significant down payments down. I really don't get that. I think this is a good episode to talk about this because I run into this a lot. I'm not a mathematician, right? But it's really basic to me. And I don't know, I think some of it's cultural, but what I'm about to talk about is the fact that people who want to either put ginormous down payments or almost want to pay off their homes when they buy, and I know a lot of it is to get the best terms possible. However, what I don't understand is this. Let's say you do invest into stocks or you own a business, right? And let's say your stocks have been averaging 15 to 18% per year in appreciation and profits. Why would you want to take all that money to go pay off a mortgage that's on the high side, 7% rate? I don't get it. Borrow the 7% and continue making your 15% over here. And that should pay for this mortgage, if it's a rental or not, doesn't really matter. The concept there is, why do you want to, take your opportunity of spending all this cash to pay off your mortgage or to pay it down to such a low balance? I mean, unless, unless it's cultural, maybe. I'm Vietnamese. After the Vietnam War, 1975, Vietnamese people came here. You know what they didn't trust is the banking system. No one did. Everything was cash. They didn't know any better. They didn't know the banking system in America, FDIC, the insurance. No one knew about it, so it was all cash. And I think that a lot of it, now that I think about it, is very cultural. Asians in particular don't want to have a mortgage. So I wonder if it's like a pride thing, but every time I have these conversations with younger folks, my generation or younger, and I always ask them, why do you feel the need to pay in cash or to not finance? I think it all comes down to one singular thing, that's how they were raised by their mom and dad. Parents wanted them to pay off in cash because they did. And so it trickles down. But after having these types of conversations, it's like, what's the purpose? You take that money, let it grow, and let your real estate grow as well. So the bottom line is you do not need to, pay for your homes in cash or pay down your mortgages to almost zero. Let it grow. Let it do its thing. And then you keep on multiplying, right? I think that's really important to do. One of the things that a lot of people always ask me about too, now that, cryptocurrency's up, Bitcoin's up at $95,000 a coin this week. Crazy. Unfortunately, crypto is still not recognized by our federal government as a actual form of currency. When is it going to change? How is it going to change? I don't know. But why do people always talk about this? Well, if you look at anything else where you can use crypto to buy, it's really an exchange, right? When people say, pay me in Bitcoin, you're not paying them in Bitcoin. You're exchanging them for your Bitcoin. You're transferring from your account to theirs without selling it, which means you're not, claiming or realizing a profit on so like if you bought your Bitcoin, right, for $5,000 a coin, now it's at 95 and you've made 90,000. To buy a house today, because it's not a real form of currency and it's not recognized as one, what you would have to do is sell your Bitcoin, right? Then now you have this capital gain that you've made 90,000. If you have to pay, I don't know, call it 10% in taxes, you just lost $9,000 on it. And then you take that leftover money to go put it down on a home. However, when we're talking about Bitcoin and crypto exchanging, you can exchange and trade each other without selling or realizing that profit. There's just got to be a better way to do it in real estate. No one's doing it yet. It's not, some have tried, hasn't been totally solid, keeps on bouncing back and forth in the courts, as to if it is real currency or not. I think a lot of it has to do with, the way people use Bitcoin or cryptocurrency for other reasons. But yeah, if there was a good way to come up with a strategy, and by the way, I have seen some crazy cryptocurrency statements. And a lot of these are, it's funny, a lot of people talk shit on millennials, and yet millennials were the ones buying up, Bitcoin when it was like $500 a coin or even less. When it was worth nothing, you have like a little key or a fob or a thumb drive. Didn't even have online accounts for crypto. That was like back in the days when it first started. People who like lost their encrypted key would never be able to, claim their Bitcoin those days. And, as much as people love or have been for the last 10, 15 years talking just crap on millennials, on, how they work or their lifestyle or what they're motivated to do or not do. A lot of them have a lot of crypto, and I've helped a lot of, people, in that demographic be able to buy properties. And that's why I'm talking about this, because, it's something that always comes up. Why can't I use my crypto? Why can't I use this or that? And, the bottom line is looking at your whole portfolio, I think it's good to diversify. Right now, if you're a stock person, or if you're all about shorting the market, or if you're about bonds only, and if you're about, day trading, or, all about crypto, it's like at some point, I'm telling you, you have to diversify into real estate. And so that brings me down to what we do. I want to talk about that for a little bit. A lot of these folks who are self-employed, or they have jobs, but they also side hustle and they're successful and they make money, or all their stuff that they generate in revenue is all cash based and they just can't prove what they make. Hey, that's where we kind of come in and we help. We have all different types of alternative programs, and the rates just aren't that much higher than your traditional loans. Not anymore. They used to be huge. They would be like 2-3% higher than what traditional rates are. Not anymore. I mean, I'm, from a traditional loan that everybody's trying to achieve because the internet, says these are the best rates. Our rates are like 0.5% higher, depending on the whole scenario, but it's not that big of a delta anymore. It used to be, and it's not anymore. So if you're a digital content creator or, believe it or not, an athlete, right? We do athlete loans, and you'd be surprised. If to do a traditional loan, what do you need? You need to be able to prove what your monthly or annual income is or whatnot. But athletes get crazy contracts. So if you get a $20 million contract over the next, 5 or 7 years, let's say, but you choose to take $1 million up front, right? Let's just say out of the $20 million, you decide to take $1 million up front, and you're like, I want my team to reinvest that money and to pay me the remaining $19 million with interest. But at the end, you could do that. However, you just can't prove your income anymore. And you would be surprised to see what kind of side deals are kind of going on behind the scenes or whatnot. And if you're not collecting funds and you don't have a steady source of income, you can't buy. How about stars? We have done definitely, not a ton, but, movie stars. Maybe not your like really famous celebrities, but not your B actors either or actresses. It's somewhere in between. You're like successful, but a lot of it you get paid per contract or when you film or upon completion or when it hits the boxes or whatnot. And then you get residual pay as well. However, it's just not steady. What if your last movie was like 5 years ago, right? And you make money, but just not for a traditional loan. These are the types of loans that we do and the types of loans that we help people with. Again, a lot of digital content creators. Wow, this is a different era, right? I have teens. I think it's important to notate that, a lot of people in this young generation, they all wish or want to be digital content creators, whether that means you're an influencer or you're on YouTube and you're you're selling TikTok shop stuff or, you're making money off of selling products. I mean, that's cool and it works. I've seen a lot of success, but it's at a very small nominal number. And I think it comes down to a lot of inexperience or just, I don't know, really, I think a lot of it has to come down to how disciplined you are. Are you ready to learn it like a business or are you just trying to do for fun? But so many people are interested in doing that these days, and there are a lot of players that are making a crap ton of money, whether that's like video game, player on Twitch, with kids as subscribers to watch you play video games or YouTube family, that's getting million hits and you're getting paid from Google for ads or, about anything else. Right? You could be a TikTok influencer, Instagram, OnlyFans. I mean, you name it, right? I mean, a lot of money is being made out there. And we're able to help a lot of people diversify their investments because they never thought they could buy real estate. So yeah, I think this is a good segment into just the fact that a lot of people don't even know that they could diversify, because our whole topic here is about using your stocks, paying off your home in cash. Do you need to? Does it even make sense? How do you create more wealth, right? And I think that what's most important is knowing what is available out there for you, what your options are. And if you are not diversifying and everything's in the market, just all stocks, and you have money and you have assets, I would definitely 100% ask you to diversify. So that you don't have all your eggs in one basket, most importantly. However, the stats are, like I said, the most ultra wealthy Americans, right, which is 30 million plus in net worth. Yeah, over a third of their, assets are parked into real estate, tangible real estate properties. So knowing that, why would you not be looking at the same thing here? So to kind of summarize there, right? Buy real estate. It's tangible and, it'll grow. Don't pay it off in cash. Mostly if you have other investments or if you have a business that makes you 20% margin per year, why do you want to take money off the table to go buy a house where your mortgage is only 7% or 6% or even 8%? Who cares, right? It just doesn't make any sense. And also if you are somebody who, has a profession or job or business where you cannot prove your income, you could still diversify. You could still buy real estate. You just need to learn how and know that there are just plenty of options out there. And with that said, that's it. Thank you for tuning in to episode number 3 of The Facts of Life, hosted here by me, John Dunn, and hope to see you next time. Thank you.